The issue of Russian missile strikes that stray into Polish territory is rooted in the heightened tensions between the NATO member Poland, Ukraine, and Russia in the middle of this conflict in Ukraine. And uh, because of recent events, Poland is considering a proposal from Ukraine to shoot down Russian missiles aimed at Ukrainian targets, but which risk crossing into Polish airspace. And the proposal emerged during a meeting between the Ukrainian President Zelensky and the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk in Warsaw, and Radek Sikorski, the Polish Foreign Minister, has confirmed that Russian missiles, particularly those fired from the St. Petersburg region, have previously crossed into Polish airspace, maybe for a short period of time, 40, 50 seconds or so, a minute, before being redirected towards their intended targets in Ukraine, Lviv, and so on. Poland is part of NATO, meaning any violation of its airspace by Russian military assets could trigger Article 5, which pertains to collective defence. However, the idea behind Ukraine's proposal is that if Poland waits until missiles cross into its territory, the debris from any intercept could harm civilians or infrastructure, and shooting down the missiles while they are still over Ukrainian airspace could minimise the risk, but Poland would need to consult with its NATO allies before taking such action. I think Radek has a very clear understanding of this. I remember him very well when he was at university, and we worked together on a number of projects to help get medical aid to Poland during the final years of the Polish communist power. The point was Britain went to war in 1939 to help Poland, supposedly, and at the end of the war we left Poland to Russia and to the communists. And for 70 years, it is our disgrace that Poland was under communist control. And Radek was a bright light who came into the West. And I think we were very fortunate to have him in Oxford at the time, and he energized the student community towards supporting his country, as much as the people in Gdansk were doing in Poland. It was a very, and indeed the Pope, it was a very inspiring time, and I think Radek continues to inspire. Indeed, he was on the bridge when a terrorist attacked in. He was on Westminster Bridge when we had the terrorist attack with the man with the knife, and he witnessed it. Poland has a long there's a long history of Poland's relationship with Russia, and the military aggression from Russia is deeply rooted in a turbulent history in the 18th and 19th century. In fact, going back even further, it's even referenced in Hamlet. The partitions of Poland in 1772, 1793, 1795, when the Kingdom of Poland was partitioned 3 times by the neighbouring powers of Russia, Prussia, and Austria. And Russia played a leading role in these partitions, resulting in Poland's complete disappearance from the map for over 120 years. And the period is remembered as one of the darkest periods in Polish history. And the November Uprising in 1830 to 1831, after the Napoleonic Wars, and Congress Poland was established as a semi-autonomous state under the Russian Empire. But growing dissatisfaction with Russian rule led to this armed rebellion in 1830, known as the November Uprising. And the Russian Empire brutally crushed the revolt, further tightening its control over Polish territories, abolishing many of the remaining Polish institutions. And then the January Uprising, about 30 years later, another Polish insurrection aimed at resisting Russian rule, and once again the uprising was defeated, but and Russia responded with even harsher repression. But these historical experiences of the brutality of Russian domination quite apart from the events in 1939, explain why Russia is so sympathetic to the experience of Ukraine at the moment, and it's heartrending to listen to the stories of Ukrainians as they undergo this misery and this tyranny. For what reason? And it's and meanwhile we hear we hear the rants of people, children like Dmitry Medvedev, just a boy really, a silly boy who likes saber rattling. I mean, it's extraordinary we've heard so little from him up till now. We heard a lot at the beginning of the war, and then he was silenced, and now he's already saying that Russia has formal grounds to use nuclear weapons because of Ukraine's incursion into the Kursk region. He talks about it being a giant melted spot. But what is he suggesting? I mean, he's talking about nuking Kyiv. This is absurd, particularly given that one of the plans for going into Ukraine in the first place, one of the excuses for going into the Ukraine in the first place, was to restore Ukraine to its Russian Orthodox identity. The heart of Russian Orthodoxy lies in Kyiv, in the baptism of the Rus, and the conversion of Prince Vladimir, whose remains lie underneath the monastery, that big monastery in Kyiv. And I cannot imagine that that any Orthodox Russian Christians would press a button to nuke Kyiv. It simply is unimaginable, and it again gives the lie to the fantasies which they have indulged in to defend this land grab, this crusade to restore Mother Russia. It is nonsensical, and Medvedev frankly needs to grow up. He says that so far Russia has chosen to show patience, but patience has its limits. Well, yeah. I'm so pleased he uses the language of the nursery, because that is something that, frankly, he has not quite emerged from. And Medvedev, just as I say, he simply needs to grow up and stop playing these stupid word games, because that's all they are. And meanwhile, in Rostov-on-Don, where I believe there is still a burning of the fuel dumps, there's a huge propaganda effort to put on display the tanks, the guns, the drones, which organizers claim were captured by Russia's southern group of forces during the conflict. They've been put on display along with some dancing sailors from the Dead Sea, from the Black Sea. Well, they're not likely to be working in the Black Sea at the moment because it's too dangerous, and so yes, they're dancing in the streets. Why not? Russian dancing, which for the most part is Ukrainian anyway in its form, is very pretty and very exciting, and something to be encouraged. I mean, I would like to see Russia back as it was. And the irony of all of this is that only weeks before the Russian invasion, the Kremlin invasion of Kyiv, Russia was poised to be party to a joint NATO exercise. Well, perhaps a little bit earlier than that, but it was due to be party to a joint NATO exercise in the Mediterranean, aimed at sort of stopping the bad forces in Syria, and then it all goes wrong. You know, what we need is more cooperation. What we need is more conversation, and maybe what we need is a northern alliance which incorporates Russia. To keep people out of a group is silly, but the group is sort of defined by its opposition to Russia. It should be defined by its focus on peace. It should be the military wing of the United Nations. As simple as that.